Hello, thanks for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Research shows that for more than 10 years now, about 3/4 of the new diseases that have affected human beings around the world are caused by pathogens originating from an animal or animal products. Going by reports, Nigeria is rated among developing countries with the highest burden of infectious and zoonotic diseases globally. Nigeria ranks rabies, avian influenza, Ebola virus disease, swine influenza, and anthrax as the 5 priority zoonoses in the country. Now, the latest of such pathogenic agents raising concerns in the country is anthrax, a bacterial disease that affects domestic and wild animals and can infect human beings. If you recall, recently the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development officially confirmed the development of 1 case of anthrax disease in a mixed livestock farm in Niger State, where some of the animals had symptoms. Anthrax is an infectious disease caused by Bacterium Bacillus anthracis. The bacteria lives in the soil and usually infects wild and domestic animals such as goats, cattle, and sheep. Anthrax can be deadly. And on a large scale, an epidemic in 1770 that killed about 15,000 people in what is now Haiti is thought to have been intestinal anthrax caused by uncooked beef. The federal government said the risk assessment conducted by the human health sector shows that the likelihood of an outbreak of anthrax disease in the country is high. Already we hear measures are in place to curtail, control, and contain the spread of a possible outbreak of the disease. This is not the first time, the nation will be experiencing the spread of zoonotic diseases from animals to humans, even though there have not been any report of animal-to-human transmission of the disease. But should Nigerians be worried over this case? Our guest to provide answers shortly as we take a look at Nigeria's efforts in curbing zoonotic diseases. And our guest is Dr. Mohammed Bala. He's a veterinary surgeon and former Vice President, Veterinary Council of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Bala.
Thank you for having me, Ruth.
Nice to have you here. Yeah. And just before we bring in our panelists, we will take you through Dr. Bala's profile. Dr. Mohammed Bala is a practicing veterinary surgeon with more than 26 years of experience in livestock production, animal health and management. He is a consultant and fellow in veterinary surgery at the College of Veterinary Surgeons, Nigeria. Dr. Bala Mohammed was appointed by former President Muhammadu Buhari into the Governing Board of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. That was from 2018 to 2023, and ratified his election as a member and Vice President, Veterinary Council of Nigeria, where he served from 2019 to 2023. He's an advocate for good governance, quality veterinary service, and animal welfare, rights, and movement. Dr. Bala has undertaken various postgraduate hands-on training programs, both in Nigeria and abroad, in over 16 countries. He is a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Administration, beneficiary of the United States of America's International Visitors and Leadership Program on Infectious Diseases and HIV and AIDS, hosted by State's Department in the United States of America. He has also obtained certificate in various reputable programs across different organizations, both locally and internationally. But we would like to leave the profile there because there's a whole lot. Well done, Dr. Bala.
Thank you.
Our panelist on platform is our agri-correspondent, Musa Baba Ali, our in-house farmer.
Thank you.
Musa, nice to have you on platform.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. So, Dr. Bala, anthrax is the one, the nation is trying to contain, control, so they don't. We're talking about zoonotic disease now and Nigeria's efforts in curtailing zoonotic diseases. Anthrax is, would you say, is new to Nigeria?
Anthrax is not new to Nigeria.
Okay.
And if you also look at anthrax as one of those infectious diseases that we've confronted that is confronting both animal health and the human health, because it is one infectious disease that we should be worried for, both animal health and human health. Eventually we work towards making that single species, the human comfortable. Now, this will be the first time that in recent years that the outbreak will be reported the way it came to us. So the National Veterinary Service, led by the Chief Vet Officer of the Federation, did announce an outbreak and alerted the service to be on the lookout for possible introduction of the disease in the country. Yeah. Unfortunately or fortunately, it was not even discovered in the neighboring state, but it was right in the heart of the country. I mean, Niger State, close to the Federal Capital Territory. So this goes to tell you that it may not be coming from the initial outbreak, but it could have been with us for even before the Ghana outbreak. Yeah. And therefore, it is a thing of concern, because if you have it when the neighboring, the border states of Nigeria were looking out for it, and then they couldn't find it, and then you find it here, it is also very possible that carcasses may have been passed for human consumption. And that is why, if you look at, you do analysis of the risk, it is apt, and the human health colleagues may have a lot of cause for concern based on the fact that instead of having some border states, having it happen there, it is happening in there. It is also possible that it may have been happening in some other locations and then not getting the eye of the meat inspectors.
Okay. Musa?
Okay, looking at the case of anthrax now, compare it with the other zoonotic diseases that we've been having. Mm-hmm. Why the worry over anthrax?
Okay, so anthrax is special. I mean, when you look at the anthrax spore itself, this is one, it is caused by a spore-forming bacteria. And when I say spore-forming bacteria, it is that when it gets to an environment, it has gotten that capacity to remain in the environment for days, for weeks, but possibly for years, and will likely reinfect animal or infect human. In other words, not only in the form of ingestion, it could be inhalation. And humans have been thought to have gotten it in the both form by way of eating from animals that are affected, but also could be inhaled in the environment. Remember that Nigeria is a very big country, and then the weather conditions in the far north totally differ from what we have in the north central, but also in the southern part of the country. In few months, it's going to get dry. This will still be hardy, it will be there, and that is why you see experts really getting worried. The moment it has been diagnosed and then you know that it is anthrax, it is not like some other infectious diseases or some other type of zoonotic diseases that you will say, oh, let us let us stamp the animals out, and then you are sure these things are likely going to be deposited in the environment and can stay there for years to reinfect animals, but also humans can get exposed.
What does the bacteria, what does it do to the animal? And what are the symptoms that, a farmer will
observe?
Yeah.
Yes, because this is something, like you said, it's not new, but it's still new to Nigerians. A lot of people, when you tell them...
For my generation,
yes.
You are very correct.
Yes.
For my generation, I think most practitioners in the space of 20 to 30 years, where I fall in, they may not have seen an outbreak of anthrax. But it's something that we used to hear of, outbreaks in the 80s, in the 70s, it used to be there, pockets of it. But the signs, like you have said, is that of animals suddenly getting sick. So it is considered a acute, highly infectious disease that once it gets into a herd, within a day, there could be, different kind of signs that tells you that something is not right. Now, the fear here for public health is that an average producer of cattle will always not want to lose an animal. And therefore, the moment he sees that, the animal is not grazing, is looking stupor, is getting listless, is weak, is running temperature, is gasping, coughing, there is this drooly salivation from the nostril, but most importantly, is not going to go grazing. He's keeping to itself and then just standing in idle. Now the next thing is sudden death. And then you see the animal bleeding from all the orifices of the body. The nostril, the ears, the eyes, the mouth, and the blood. Something that is very significant and then very, very typical of anthrax is that this blood will not clot. It will just be oozing, hours after slaughter, hours after death, the blood is just coming out. And then in some cases, it is only at the slaughter bay that suspicion, if the veterinary inspector is very alert, that you actually caught it. Because it may even die without those bleeding coming from the orifices. And the natural instinct of most producers is that the moment the animal is sick, they should take it to the market or they should take it for slaughter. They want to salvage it in order not to lose out totally. So that is why it is of paramount importance. Secondly, and I was discussing this with some colleagues from the human health, there is this practice where you have some people eat raw liver. Raw.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, of course.
Wow.
And I'm sure many people will, can really relate with what I'm saying. So many times, growing up or while you are even in the abattoir, inspecting animals, you see the butchers. Or you even see some other people coming and then they are cutting the rumen, that is the larger part of the cattle rumen, and then they are just cutting it and then they just use their knife and straight they are eating. The same thing with liver. Now, this brings a lot of danger to public health. In other words, be it being consumed by workers or anyone fresh, or that you also walk in the blood. I wish you see pictures of operations in an average slaughterhouse in Nigeria, and you see the kind of blood smears all over the body and what have you. And these same people may not even shower. They go back home to join their families.
You know, Dr. Bala, you're just painting a very gory picture.
Well, but that is exactly the reality.
Yes, that's the reality. It's you and I here now and people, just a few who are educated about this.
Correct.
So what about those in the abattoir? What about the farmers who you find your cattle sick and you don't know what to do at that point? You're concerned about not cutting loss like you stated earlier. And then those in the abattoir, that's business for them. That's their daily life. What should be done? Because this is scary from what you're describing.
Definitely, beyond deploying the tools of vaccination, there has to be a massive public enlightenment and orientation and training. And I'm happy Niger State government, where it happened, is doing so much in making sure that they interface with not only the media, but also the workers at the abattoir. And also, you know, another very tricky thing here is that anywhere you have a livestock market, there is going to be a makeshift abattoir, slaughter slab. It's always like that across the country. The moment you have a market, there is always a makeshift. It may not be official, but we know as workers in that sector that there is always a makeshift slaughter slab, and it could be for emergency cases like this. The moment the animal is sick, it is first taken out of the stock that will be sold and then taken to a corner. A slaughter slab is always there, slaughter, before they now take it or look out for the meat vendors who will buy, and then they take it out for sale. Now, this is where the problem lies. And then all of these people, including those who are in livestock market, because first the animal is not doing well or they are looking sick, they move them quickly from the farm straight to the market. And then it is again in the market that when people come and it's not looking very lively, it's looking sickly, that they either buy, crash the price, they buy and then take straight to the abattoir, to the slaughter facilities, or otherwise it gives up, it's about dying, it is going to be salvaged. And you and I know where it will end up. So that is what it portends for public health. And that is why the authorities are working together in terms of an approach of One Health, getting people from human health, getting those from animal health, but also the environmental health workers to mount extensive public enlightenment campaign and advice training at this time, so that everyone will understand the risk that faces the public health.
Okay, so before I bring you back to the issue of the situation in abattoir, because what we saw from where we visited in Karo, in Dede, and in Suleja, in fact, one can decide to stop eating meat. What we saw on the ground, the NTA is following up the story to see what government at all levels will be able to do to address the situation. But in a case where a farm, an animal is dictated to have infected with the anthrax, we know, like the case of avian influenza, the animals, the birds in the whole place will be depopulated. In case of anthrax, what is the way out? Where an animal is?
So I mean, to quickly add, in the other case of birds, the animals are being depopulated, the farm decontaminated, and the farmer compensated. The same thing will have to be done for this case. In fact, if anything, there is that need to getting people to report so that we can nib disaster in the bud. there has to be a government, involvement in making sure that compensation is announced to encourage farmers report. And that is the only way that it can be nipped in the bud. Vaccinations, very good. Ring vaccinations being conducted now 8 kilometers from all farms within 8 kilometers of
the epic,
the incident case. Very nice. But there has to be a follow-up activities, particularly in the abattoirs. We have a lot of farms, we have a lot of markets that are not being manned. And to me, this is, a disaster a time bomb waiting to explode. So there has to be a public enlightenment, no doubt about it.
So talking about you mentioned of a time bomb, and when the first case was reported in northern Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Togo, there was fear that anthrax can be used as a biological weapon, and some veterinarians around that area raised alarm to ECOWAS that they should do something fast before this disease will spread across West Africa.
And it was analyzed, and it contained anthrax spore.
Here in Nigeria?
Here in Nigeria. I was an active, very young practitioner on the field, and it was quickly contained, and then security was deployed, and they tried to trace it. I don't know the end of, but NTA did reported it very well. This here in Nigeria, in this Nigerian Senate.
Okay, but
and that is how serious it is for anyone who is a student of infectious diseases. You will always see it, why we are concerned as professionals, because of that singular aspect of it being used as an agent of bioterrorism.
But Dr. Bala, now we're dealing with an index case.
Right.
That's just for Niger State.
Yes.
That's because it was diagnosed. There was a report.
Yes.
And that's why we're getting to know.
Yes.
What about other parts of the country, the remote areas, communities where people don't even know the word anthrax? And we've not even started talking about the tracing of, contact persons with the livestock that was involved in Niger State before we start spreading the antenna to the communities.
I should think Nigerian Center for Disease Control have gotten that on, because it's very important to check almost immediately all the farmers, all the workers, some of the people and colleagues that were on the field
at that time.
At that time that this, by now they should be doing a trace back in terms of, even though it has not been discovered, but there has to be an active surveillance both in the animal population but also in the human population, not only having your antennas up in picking a new case, but as you do vaccination, you also randomly check sick animals to exactly establish what is making them sick.
What about those communities, those remote areas?
So
livestock, rearing cattle is part of the lifestyle.
Yeah, and then you also have larger part of those who even will eat dead ones.
Yeah, so
dead animals.
And we were.
The animal just is dead. It will not just go like that, like we say in Hausa, mushe. It will be consumed. They will always find a way of processing it. And here, my advice will be for people to be on a watch out. You must know where your meat is coming from. You have to have faith, even in the little that the veterinary service is doing, to making sure that you buy your meat in accredited point. Because you just can't, this is one of the biggest TV network in Africa. And it may still not get to all the nooks and crannies of even Nigeria.
Yes.
But as much as possible, the NCDC have gotten also a very robust way of reaching out to communities. And there has to be a way that both the National Orientation Agency will also have to pass out coded information for people to be on a watch out. And I always don't want to discuss it, but you know, this is the time to boil your meat and boil it very well. But it is very risky because even in the process of processing it, our mothers
would like to taste.
Not even
Before it's
testing.
cooked.
I mean, you need to even wash.
Yeah.
You need to wash. And the organism is
Of
just
course.
in there. You need to wash before you even
So
cook.
we shouldn't wash the meat? Or what should we? We have to wash the
You
meat.
have to wash. So what I am saying is that it must even be nipped in the bud. You don't have any business going near the carcass of an anthrax infected, animal.
Okay, yes, going back to the abattoir situation. From what we discovered, that we don't have enough veterinary officers that will man our abattoirs.
Correct.
For example, in Suleja,
Yes.
we have over 500 cows have been slaughtered on daily basis.
Correct.
Day, we are told that over 300
Or more.
or more. Then in Karo, they told us average 200 on daily basis. These are the official reported animals. So we
And
are
then
saying
you are only talking about cattle.
cattle, yes.
You have thousands of sheep and goat, and remember that sheep and goat
Which
are
we will pick
highly
up,
susceptible.
Dr. Bala. We'll pick
highly
up with that.
susceptible
We have
to-
to take this break.
Thank you.
Just hold that thought. Let's go to break, please.
What are we doing as a nation to first of all settle our teeming populace, especially the youth?
NTA's political package with a third eye on the nation's political scene. I am Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling their
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything because we don't have anything.
Weekend File, your Saturday delight, going to places from the obscure to the hinterland and cities, bringing you development stories and perspectives, connecting the people with government and stakeholders on critical issues of our national life.
We are live in Abuja.
It's 9 p.m. every Saturday on the network service of the NTA. Weekend File, you can't afford to miss it.
Thanks for staying tuned. We'll still discuss Nigeria's efforts in curtailing zoonotic diseases. Dr. Bala, you were going to respond to Musa's question.
Yes.
You were talking about their sheep, goats,
Yes.
which we've not even looked at.
Yes, and wherever you have 500, depending on the location of the abattoir. For instance, in Day, if you slaughter 100 cows, be rest assured that over 1,000 sheep and goat will be slaughtered. And they are also highly susceptible to anthrax. So the case you are trying to get at is
the
that
number of veterinary officers that will inspect these animals before slaughtering them. And will the butchers agree or accept the decision taken by a vet to condemn a particular animal not to be slaughtered,
When
not
they know
fit
they're
for
counting
consumption?
losses.
So let me start with that one. No, it's always a fight, and therefore, even for few number of vets that are there, they just look from afar, and then they are able to blow the whistle, or they have some other mechanism talking to their leadership, and then they isolate. Now, the point here is that if you have to do partial or total condemnation of a case, in this case of anthrax, it's a total condemnation. In the case of diseases like tuberculosis, you could do partial condemnation, for instance, the lungs, the viscera, depending on the spread of the tubercle, of the TB tubercle. You do partial condemnation. Somebody needs to pay to encourage them to even report. So most of the times, one vet to 100 animals or 300 or 400, the moment they realize that the animal is sick, this animal is sick in one slaughter hall, as he is there dealing with one case there, they are dealing with other bad cases there, and then they just package it quickly before he gets there. They are done. And most of the time, we spend a lot of time looking out for, excuse me, sorry, looking out for, oh, has he paid? And then the moment we get paid, you know, you just allow to pass because you are going to be overwhelmed.
But how
so
many,
they are not,
Dr. Bala, how many farmers or, you know, people who rear this livestock can even afford a vet doctor?
So it is not about the farmer. It is about, at the point of slaughter, it is the government responsibility to ensure that any animal being slaughtered and being passed for human consumption must go through an inspection detail. That is what we call pre-slaughter, which is an ante-mortem inspection. There is post-mortem inspection, which is the slaughterhouse inspection. So pre-slaughter inspection could be in the larynx. The animals are presented between 7 days to 72 days of slaughter. So they are presented. If we are going to slaughter 1,000 tomorrow, meaning they will be in a holding pen at least a week. And then they are being watched, blood is being taken, they are being examined, tested, and then they will now pass them to another stage. And they will now be slaughtered, right? And at the slaughter, again, samples are being taken. And then they are being examined, samples are being taken to the lab, and again, the organs, integrity of the organs, because sometimes the disease may be encapsulated, so you don't pick it before slaughter. But now you are seeing the organ, and you are seeing a disease organ, meaning it shouldn't be passed for human consumption. But also immediately after passing the slaughter, that is post-mortem, there are other tests that need to be applied before you and I buy for consumption.
These are processes you just explained. Musa, a lot is going through my head.
Which is not in place.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
Which is not
really
in place. And therefore, government need to spend time and resources in restructuring what happened. You can lease it out, because you don't just do inspection. The animal is healthy, only at the point of slaughter that it gets contaminated, because processing is being done on the floor, because the water is not there, potable water is not there, no electricity to, because as you are processing, if you don't want any contaminations, those flies coming to perch on the meat that is just being confirmed and, you know, passed for human consumption, suddenly there is contamination by fly, you know, from the pit latrine coming to contaminate what we want to, you just passed. So the place will have to be properly air conditioned. It must be properly clean. It shouldn't be done on the bare floor. It has to be done on a
That's
slab.
the situation in all the abattoirs we visited.
So you know, if you want to talk about food safety and you want to talk about safety around consumption, you need to look at it holistically, because even if you take, for instance, in Suleja abattoir, even if you take 500 vet to 500 cattle, they are not able to do anything in terms of passing, wholesome meat for human consumption. You know why? The condition of the slaughter facility is absolutely not in good shape, and therefore, if the animal is healthy, even in the process of slaughter, and there could be contamination, because the hot market type of meat that we consume, you know, straight as you slaughter, somebody is waiting, the blood is dripping, it's not done anywhere. The meat had to be passed, properly cleaned. There is what we call curing and aging of meat before consumption, meaning it must go into refrigeration. Even if it is
taken to the market.
Even if it is 1 hour, it
so
must be.
So we've been consuming meat in the very wrong way.
And that is why you are Ruth and I am Dr. Bala Nigerians, you know. Because a lot of
you and I know it doesn't go through this
lot of the diseases that kill us in Nigeria comes from what we eat.
But sir, what is the Veterinary Council of Nigeria doing?
Yes.
Where are you people?
So because you're just really not information that is new to me.
We all know this is the basic principles of practice.
But you know, so the Vet Council is there as the police to ensuring that these things are being done. But they are doing their best. But if they also tell you their challenge in terms of tools to work with, for instance, all the practice premises need to be geo-mapped so that if Musa Baba Ali is going out, even as a watchdog of the society, he will have on his tablet, on his phone, that this is an approved. We don't do that. They tell you they don't have that resources. The state government, the local government that have different kind of slaughter facility, because you are supposed to have slaughter slab. You are also supposed to have like grade 1, grade 2. Then you now have an abattoir belonging to different tiers of government. They've not been able to even provide for minimum requirement. But yet, we have the largest...
The revenue that is being generated. I was surprised to discover that in Suleja, for example, close to 5 million is being generated on weekly basis. On Saturday like this, there's a...
And then that is conservative. I mean, that will be discussion for another day, since I'm not an anti-corruption.
That revenue, know what you are saying?
Yes.
That revenue can be used to provide water, to improve the slaughtering slab, because
facilities.
At Suleja, for example...
You are right.
That is if they pay remittance to the council.
That's what is...
Or to the government. It's not supposed to be paid to the council. It's supposed to be paid to state government.
What I'm saying, the
now,
council...
the whole idea is this is a story of our country. And you and I know that we don't have any reason to be poor. When World Bank keep branding us as the biggest economy in Africa, they are not saying it just for the saying sake that they want to impress anyone. It is true that we have the numbers and the resources are with us. Once you have, you know, I mean, for instance, in the nation capital, go to our abattoirs in Abuja. Just take a look at what happens there in our abattoirs in Nigeria, I mean in FCT. That, if you see, you will not be able to eat meat again. Yet,
So it's better I don't see it because I love goat's meat. But Dr. Bala, this is a very serious issue.
Sure.
And according to report, when the spores of the anthrax,
yes.
persist in a contaminated environment, it could stay for decades.
Yes.
So is there treatment? Because that, I know, is a question bugging the minds of a lot of people.
So yes, like in the environment, what I would have expected now, that even in the environment where the initial case was discovered, there has to be an environmental component of the One Health, visiting but trying to disinfect. If they've done any movement, use any vehicle to have moved any carcass from that location to anywhere, it has to be traced. Those vehicles should be properly decontaminated, disinfected. And we keep doing that over and over until it is thoroughly, decontaminated.
Okay, we talk about vaccination. And we learned that the federal government so far procured 50,000 doses of anthrax vaccine, and also to that
50,000 for Niger State or for the entire
so
country?
far what they have already released out.
Okay.
Now
just 50,000.
50,000 doses. Why Niger State said they have procured about 400,000 doses.
Right.
But do we have capacity to produce these vaccines, or we are importing them?
Well, I know National Veterinary Research Institute. I mean, is one of their best take. But being a government institute, I can't answer that question because virtually everything that has to do with funding has actually doing.
But how effective is the vaccine?
Very effective, very, very effective. And I will also take this media to say this, that one the first year of life of a cattle or of any ruminant, between the third and the 6th month, once they get one shot, and then it is repeated once every year. And then I tell you something, the vaccine is very affordable. It is very, very affordable. Just once every year, the animals are going to be protected, well protected.
Which is supposed
unless
to be...
if you have, like we have in Suleja now, the animals in that area must get a booster dose 6 months from the initial dose for them to be properly protected. But for other areas, once in a year vaccination will suffice. I mean, will be protected.
Dr. Bala, it's good you mentioned the vaccination is affordable and all of that. Is that not supposed to be the state intervention?
Correct. Because it is also of public health importance, and that is why government will have to pay in. And then also, let me also warn here that there is always a difference between procuring the vaccine, like he is just announced now. The vaccines need not to be in the fridge. They should be in the body of the animals.
So no need for storage?
In other words, we don't procure and then come to the media and we keep announcing. It must go round. We must inject all the animals, because that is what, I mean, for some of us coming from the private background, the whole idea is that we have a program. You don't have to wait until certain highly infectious zoonotic diseases broke out before you now start running helter-skelter. The idea is that you should be proactive and then have these vaccines produced, and they must also be taken to the field and injected. Because, sometimes you get this impression that, 1 million doses of anthrax spore vaccines have been supplied. How many have we been able to administer into the animals? Because these are two levels of challenge. You could have the money that you have procured the vaccine, but you don't have the budget in moving even the team, the veterinary doctors and the inoculators, to the field.
Yes.
Remember what we went through during COVID. The vaccines were even being donated, but people had to be begged to get the shot into their arms. So it is also the same thing with, in fact, it's even more serious that where you have 1 million naira procuring vaccine, you must also make provision for probably 3 million naira to making sure that these vaccines get into the bodies of the animals. They shouldn't stay there in the store that you haven't gotten budget after producing them.
Okay, another issue that's facing Nigeria and other ECOWAS countries is the issue of transhuman movement of animals. FAO told us about 60 million cows move from left to right of West Africa.
Correct.
Annually.
Yes.
And tracking these animals to vaccinate them or policing the animals before entering at the border post is a problem. How can we solve this issue?
Technology.
How?
We have to have a way of tracing where every animal, for instance, in the abattoir, it's not a rocket science that I am able to trace that this animal that is being slaughtered is coming from farm A. This is an era of technology. We have to have a way of deploying technology, something slim but fit to our situation. And take, for instance, an Animal Disease Control Act of the Federation that is being amended last year. Yeah. It is there, a section of it talk about traceability, where you can use technology like a chip, and then you can even track. You're seeing that, oh, this animal is coming not only from Borno or from Yola or from Adamawa, it actually came from Sudan, or it came from, what is it called?
Central Africa or Chad.
Technology. And it's very easy now, because if you have proper regulation and you have proper enforcement of regulation at every given point, and you've gotten this technology to aid implementation, enforcement of this regulation, it is going to be very easy that for any animal, sheep, dog, and cat, sheep, goat, cattle, pig, being slaughtered, you must know from which farm, or from which state, or from which country. Even if we operate a regional free trade region of economic community of West Africa, we need to know before it is slaughtered for anybody's consumption.
Okay, Dr.
And
Bala,
that way you are able to...
We're winding down, and very briefly, I don't know how you're going to answer this in a few seconds. Nigerians, from the picture you've painted and everything you said here, I am also worried. Sure. But tell us, what precautionary measures as individuals, should we do to stay safe? Because we must consume these animals, whether we like it or not.
Sure. Like I've always said, this is a population that is highly carnivorous. You don't have population like in India, where everybody goes on vegetables. Would have said, oh, let's even make do for now with vegetable. But if you do watch where you get what you eat, it's very important. There are some points in the market, for instance, Wuse market, Gariki market, that you are definitely sure that those meat are actually coming from where meat inspectors have done their best in passing it. I think we are going to be okay. But again, taking into consideration proper implementation or enforcement of regulation by government will help in nibbling some of these zoonotic diseases outbreak in the bud.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar Bala, for your time. And thank you for educating us.
We should also thank Nigerian Television Authority for doing this in safeguarding the health of the people.
Yes, indeed.
Because it's very important. If you hear something, say something.
Indeed.
And I think we should have a way of escalating it to our people. So thank you so very much, NTA. And thank you all for also bringing some silent things to fore. And I think the needful need to be done after saying all of this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bala.
Thank you.
Musa Baba Ali, thank you, agri-correspondent here in NTA. Thank you for your contribution on the platform.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. And we've been discussing Nigeria's efforts towards curtailing the spread of zoonotic diseases in the country. It is a big deal, and anthrax is here. Now, not just anthrax, we should be vigilant about other zoonotic diseases that may possibly be a burden for us. Let's do the needful. Let's stay safe so that we can have a better Nigerian. That's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.